What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here with your second stimulus check update and news report. I have several different things to get to for you guys here in this video. So make sure to hit the like button for us and subscribe if you haven't yet. This way you won't miss out on new videos coming out as new information comes out. Okay, first up, and this is really big news, Democrats have proposed a new bill to cancel up to $50,000 in student loan debt for borrowers due to the pandemic. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, a Democrat from New York, and Senator Elizabeth Warren, a Democrat from Massachusetts, announced a resolution on Thursday that would broadly cancel federal student loan debt due to this pandemic. The resolution calls on President Donald Trump, and I'll tell you why here in a second, to take executive action to forgive up to $50,000 in student loan debt per person. The economic aftermath from this pandemic, which caused unemployment to spike and wages to fall, has made it nearly impossible for many borrowers to repay their college loans during this pandemic. Now, the really interesting thing about this is that it doesn't even need to pass through Congress, through the House or the Senate. This can literally be passed just by a presidential executive order. The president could literally just sign it and it could be done within an hour. And even if President Donald Trump doesn't want to do it, which I'll tell you why he will want to do it here in a second, President Joe Biden could do it if he's reelected as president for next year, which at this point is only a few months away. So if President Donald Trump does this, it would really boost his election results and many more people would vote for him right before the election. This could garner him millions of votes or hundreds of thousands of votes at the bare minimum. There's a lot of people that have student loan debt, and the president can literally just sign it and it would become law. And you, if you have a student loan or anybody you know that has a student loan, wouldn't have to pay back up to $50,000 from this new bill proposal. And it's interesting that it's coming from Democrats, but yet they want President Donald Trump to sign it, who's a Republican. So it's interesting that they would do this right before an election coming from the Democrats. Basically, this would give a huge boost to President Donald Trump if he does this before the election and basically just helps out millions of Americans. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Do you think this would be a good thing for him to do before the election? Also, the next thing I want to say is we have actually been getting a lot of various different stimulus things passed within the last few recent weeks. We had the 4 presidential memorandums or executive orders that had the unemployment money, they had the eviction moratorium, and then we just had a new eviction moratorium passed within like the last week or so, which extends people not being able to be evicted all the way to the end of the year. I covered that in a previous video if you haven't seen that yet. And we're starting to see a lot of various different things passed as the president tries to pass as much as he can before the election. Just within the last 2 days, President Donald Trump announced nearly $13 billion in aid for Puerto Rico, which is a U.S. territory. Puerto Rico is being promised nearly $13 billion in federal disaster funding to repair its electrical and education infrastructure 3 years after Hurricane Maria's devastation and 6 weeks before the presidential election. Hurricane Maria struck Puerto Rico as a Category 4 storm in September of 2017, killing at least 3,000 residents and essentially destroying their entire electrical system, which was already unreliable. Parts of the island remained without power for almost an entire year. In addition to that $13 billion, the U.S. has just announced an additional $14 billion in new aid for U.S. farmers. This alone, these two packages combined, is a total of $27 billion in new aid passed just within the last few days. The U.S. Agriculture Department on Friday released details of another round, a second round of virus relief aid for farmers, which will pay up to $14 billion to growers of major crops such as corn, soybean, wheat, as well as livestock, dairy, and tobacco. President Donald Trump announced the assistance on Thursday night at a campaign rally in Wisconsin, a crucial battleground state. Now, if you see the pattern, the president and the Republicans are trying to pass as much stimulus as they can before the election in various different forms. The president passed it through the unemployment extension, through the presidential executive order. He's passed two eviction memorandums where you can't be evicted. He's passed the student loan relief where it extends payments throughout the end of the year. We now have this new proposal to possibly cancel up to $50,000 in student loan debt per person. We've had talks of the stimulus checks being passed through a presidential executive order if Congress can't come to an agreement. I personally think the president is going to do that. I think it'll probably be maybe a week or two away. As we get really close to the election, the president's just going to say, that's it. I'm tired of this. Congress can't come to an agreement when they go on their new recess for the elections. He's going to say, well, Congress went on recess. I'm the only one that can pass this. I have to pass this. So literally, as soon as they go on recess, I think the president's going to pass the presidential executive order for stimulus checks. That's exactly what happened from the presidential executive order for the unemployment. Literally, the day the deadline came and they didn't come to an agreement, and then they went on recess. Congress went on recess. And the very next day, I believe it was on a Saturday or a Sunday, President Donald Trump said, that's it. Congress couldn't come to an agreement. I'm going to pass this through a presidential executive order. And I think that's what's going to happen again when Congress comes up on another recess here coming soon. And they have to pass also a shutdown bill before then too. So there's a lot going on in Congress. And I think that there's a lot of cat and mouse between Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats saying we want more money. And then there's the Republicans who there's been speculation on that they might just not agree to it because they know the president's going to pass it through the presidential executive order. So if they can't come to an agreement, the president could just step in like he did with the unemployment money and say, well, they couldn't come to an agreement. I had to do it. I had to pass the stimulus checks through the presidential executive order. This $300 billion has just been sitting in an account and it hasn't been used. It's been earmarked for stimulus already by Congress from the first stimulus package. So that's it. I need to get you guys out relief as soon as possible. And with now less than 45 days to the election, if they pass that in the next week or two, people will start getting their checks within 7 days. That's pretty conveniently right before the election. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Do you think that is exactly what's going to happen? Do you think the president is going to step in and pass the stimulus checks through a presidential executive order right before the election? And now it can't be right before the election. It has to be like, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks away, which only puts us 2 weeks away now, or less than 2 weeks away now, because they need time to get the stimulus checks out. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin said that the checks will go out in as early as 7 days to direct deposit people, but people that get stimulus checks or stimulus debit cards, cards in the mail, those take a little bit more time. Those can take a couple weeks to go out. So they know that they want to get the vast majority of those out before the election so that people, have gotten their stimulus check right before the election. Let me know your thoughts if you think that is exactly what's going to happen, because I think that's what's going to happen if they can't come to an agreement. And Nancy Pelosi, it's almost like she's undercover working for the Republicans, because if she doesn't agree, the president's just going to do it through a presidential executive order. So she's actually just hurting herself by not coming to an agreement. But she also thinks that if she just comes to an agreement now, then the president's going to pass the stimulus, and the unemployment and everything through a stimulus check. So that hurts the Democrats also. So I think the Democrats are in a tough position because either way, the president is going to get all the praise or all the credit for passing this stuff right before the election. And if they don't do it, he's just going to probably do it through a presidential executive order anyways. And if the president cancels a student loan debt, that's just going to mean even more votes for him. The president's also been busy trying to ban TikTok and WeChat before the election, also stating that it is a national security concern to block these apps. TikTok has 500 million users, of which 100 million users are in the United States. That's almost 1/3 of the population of the United States. And WeChat, which has up to 1 billion users worldwide. The reason he wants to ban these based on a national security concern is there's a Chinese law that says any corporation that has started in China, regardless of where their users are, they have to report data and information on their users to the Chinese government. So that prevents or at least President Donald Trump says that is a security concern or a national security concern, because basically if there's 100 million TikTok users in the United States, a lot of which are kids or children, and they're using the app, that their data is being reported to the Chinese government on a daily basis because it's Chinese law. So if he bans that before election, that again will be just another thing. He's trying to do as much action as he can before the election so he can use this, basically saying, look at all these things that I have done. This comes on the heels as virus numbers across the United States are not looking good and are actually spiking up after the Labor Day holiday. We're starting to get back to almost 50,000 new cases per day. And the World Health Organization just a few days ago announced an all-time one-day high of new cases across the entire world. We actually have up to 37 states in the United States reporting cases on the rise depending on how you look at the data. And the average has risen over the past few days up to 13% higher than just the week before, data from Johns Hopkins University shows. The US is nearing almost 7 million cases in total in the United States, and worldwide we now have over 30 million cases, and we're starting to see record numbers in a lot of different countries as we come out of the summer season. So don't forget to like this video if you haven't yet, and to subscribe if you haven't. This way you won't miss out on new videos as it comes out. You can click on these videos to watch my newest stimulus check videos next. And this video teaches you how to start a business selling products on Amazon FBA. I have students that have replaced their entire 9-to-5 income by selling products on Amazon. Click on one of those videos to watch them next. Thanks, and I will see you in the next video.